Welcome to today's reading and to the Air Moon Eris channel. Today's reading is just going to be what lays between you and the veil. We have three piles for you to choose from tonight. We have group 1 with the Caribbean calcite and the seashell necklace. We have group 2 with the Macrame, like interchangeable necklace with a Lemurian seed quartz. And we also have group 3 with the Outback Jasper necklace with the silver chain. So I'm not sure if it'll help anybody choose, but group 1 and group 3 were both presents, and group 2 was, I guess, a present to myself. So you can take a moment to choose which pile you feel the most drawn to. Feel free to pause the video to be able to do that. I don't know, for those of you that would like a little bit of help with that, sometimes just closing your eyes and taking a few deep breaths can really help us ground into the moment, or maybe be like a quick meditation for us to slip into that space to be able to do so. That being said, you can jump ahead to the timestamps in the description box and we can go ahead and get started. Thanks. Hey, welcome group 1 to tonight's reading, which is all about what is between you and the veil. We're doing tonight's reading by candlelight again. I'm just helping with the energy here. I'm hoping that everybody's doing well. I did just want to take a moment to just talk about with these readings, they're not the same as like a personal reading. When you book a personal reading, I guess they're personal for a reason, like they're specific to you. When you are watching one of these like YouTube pick a card readings, they're like a general reading. I guess you're fitting a collective of people into one group. So they're not always going to be specific and accurate to your exact situation. And on that note, I just want to mention that we don't want to try to just like, you know, make it fit our situation either. Maybe if you're unsure of where to go with it, you could use it as like a form of confirmation on like your own, I guess, deeper knowing, if that makes sense. If you're struggling choosing piles, like there's many different ways that we can choose them, but it's definitely something that will help as we develop our own intuition over time as well. If anyone is struggling choosing their pile, if you can comment, I can see if I can get some sort of intuitive heads up on what pile would be good for you. Keep in mind too that sometimes when we watch these videos, they're like our vibration will also alter how we're experiencing the reading at the time, and we may be better off coming back in a week or so. Okay, so I just want to start by talking about the necklace. So I'll see if I can hold it up closer to the camera for you all to see. So we have a beautiful seashell. There's a really beautiful Caribbean calcite here that's a little bit paler in color. Let's see if we can hold a flame up closer, if it will show the color. It always reminds me of the beach. If you guys just seen what that flame just was really bright, and now all of a sudden it's like disappearing a bit. Anyway, that was weird. Okay, so moving on. So this necklace, it actually was a gift from a friend, and when it was like an intuitively chosen gift, and it's aesthetically pleasing to me. Like, I love the beach and everything, if you haven't noticed by now, for those of you who regularly join our readings. But the seashells to me are always like protective, and the Caribbean calcite is actually quite like a calming, soothing, grounding crystal as well. So it's kind of the perfect combination for me for this point in my journey. And the reason why I'm talking about myself is hopefully like it can illuminate something within your own journey, or something that may be helpful for you. But basically it sits at the perfect height of, like, I can adjust it so it sits exactly where the heart chakra is. And I feel like it not only does it like calm things right down in really turbulent times, but also it's kind of like protective and shielding of the heart chakra area as well. So if that's something that any of you resonate with, that might be something that could be helpful for you. Okay, moving on. So we have the Three of Pentacles and the Magician. So straight away, I feel like some of you have just left some sort of situation that has not been working for you. It doesn't matter what that looks like, whether it could be work, family, relationship, anything. It's just like you're in a position involved with other people and it wasn't working for you. For whatever reason, you may be being like singled out or left out or something like that, and you've decided to move on. And in that like move, I don't know if you've decided to move on, maybe that's not right, but it's like you've chosen to alchemize what you can in your position. So it's kind of like, I get the feeling that you've been really clear cut about, this is what I can control and this is what I can't control. And in what you can control, you're working absolute wonders and doing really well. I wonder for some of you if some of the people in that situation were a little bit manipulative as well. But I do think regardless of where they're at, I feel like you stand in a league of your own, like in comparison, like you stand apart from that crowd, and I think it's a good thing. Anyway, even if it doesn't feel like it is, you know, sometimes there's like a true beauty and a power that comes from some of those like really harsh moments in life where if we never stand alone, we may never like truly get to know ourselves outside of like the pack or something like that. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say, but outside of the group. Yeah. I'm not sure if some of you are parents in this group, or it's you just have like a really close relationship where I get the sense that either someone feels like you are the entire world to them, or you feel like they were your entire world. And I think out of this situation, someone was like doing something that wasn't really right. And I think that the universe the universe would see everything that's happening as it's unfolding. But I think they're somehow going to keep people accountable. So like, whatever thing someone's done here, if it doesn't come to light, there's going to be some sort of like judgment bestowed upon them. And I don't know what that looks like. For some people, it'll be like their world falling down around them. For others, it'll be like removing those faulty foundations, or like really weak foundations, like false belief systems or something like that. I do feel like there's children involved here. There might not be children involved for everyone. I do feel like for like quite a big group of people in group one that it would be like a separation involving children, but for those of you that there is no children involved, it may not have necessarily been like a relationship separation, but you've left some sort of group behind, and I just feel like that group felt really significant to you, or you left a really big hole in that group. Maybe I think a bit of both here. Like, people would really feel your absence, actually. It's definitely something that I'm getting quite strongly. And I think for some of you, you might actually be on the receiving end of a layer of like really short-sighted judgment as well. And that may lead to like an internal tower moment where things are really falling down around you. Like, it will quite literally feel like the world is ending. Maybe like a lot of things in your life are really going wrong, and some of it stems from places where you weren't fully seen, or like the entirety of a situation wasn't fully seen. Whereas for other people, it's kind of bizarre. There must be like a few different, definitely like a broad range of situations going on in this group, because some people, it's like they're being held accountable, and for other people it was like a lack of insight that's causing situations to unfold in a way where it's kind of like, no matter what happens, these tower moments, even if they're really uncomfortable, or like, you know, things are happening around us that we don't want to have happen, they're going to rebalance everything. I'm definitely getting the analogy of like the fire clearing all the old, like, dead growth in the land to allow for the new growth, like, to come through, to like replenish the, like, clear the land, restore like the what is it, like it's like a chemical rebalancing, or the neutrality to the soil or something. I'm not sure what it is that they're trying to get me to say, but basically like restoration, like full of nutrients, and it's like the perfect grounds for new growth to come through. So whatever this is, it was like, if it didn't happen in this exact way, or if it didn't just like come undone in some way, it would have come undone in another way. And if it didn't come undone, it actually would have wound up being worse off for you, because like the higher that you stack the tower and it's got a lean to it, at some point it's going to tip, and you've just further invested in this like inevitably tipping tower anyway. And as you're slowly going, there's going to be like more cracks and more like band-aid solutions to try to keep it together. And you know, the further that we get, or the, like, I don't know if it's like the bigger the investment, or like the higher up that we get building this tower, and then it all comes apart, like the further we get, the taller it is, the further it has to fall to come down as well. And that seems to be really significant for this group. Okay, so it's like letting you know that it was better for it to happen now rather than later, and that although like you're hurt and what you're experiencing may not necessarily be justified, and it's more than valid, it had to happen, because if it didn't now, it would have been worse. Okay, if everyone can just take a moment to take a breath. For some people, you might have like a bit of a heavy heart chakra right now. Okay, so perfectly lines up with why we chose this necklace, right? We want something calming, soothing, grounding, protective of our hearts. Maybe some of you are in a position where you've been quite vulnerable, or put in positions where you shouldn't have had to be. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about, I'm not sure why I was kind of called to talk about the new jade, and it's just like a lighter color jade as far as I understand. And I don't know a lot about jade, but I feel like this is kind of the best of the both worlds, like a crossover between, say, something similar to like the Caribbean calcite and like a bright green heart chakra colored crystal. where this might have a little bit of both. Like it's kind of like soothing the heart chakra itself. So maybe there are some of you that aren't necessarily drawn to something like Caribbean calcite, or maybe you don't need that real grounding aspect. Maybe it's the others. Everyone will be different, and it'll just be something that you're drawn to. Also, jade can be lucky. Yeah, jade can be for good luck, so that actually might be helpful for some of you. And I'm just getting something here too that I didn't realize, that like jade can absorb negative energy. So anytime we're working with crystals that absorb negative energy, we want to keep them cleared, especially if there's like a lot going on or it's like turbulent times, just to regularly clear them. Yeah, okay. They're also wanting me to talk about clear quartz as well. So clear quartz can amplify crystals. It can also be used interchangeably in place of other crystals. And it can be clearing, and it can help with, I guess, providing like a sense of clarity, like maybe mental clarity or emotional clarity on a situation, just depending on how it's used in the crystal and the specific situation. So that would just be something that you would have to sit down and try and see what actually happens for you. The best way to probably work with it would be to hold a piece in between both hands and close your eyes and maybe try like a meditation, just sitting with the crystal in your hands and the energy, and just taking deep, slower breaths and in like a calm, quiet environment, and just see if you get anything from it. And even if you don't have anything noteworthy come into your mind, doesn't mean that the exercise was pointless or in vain. Your energy will still be like attuning to that of whatever the crystal has to offer you. So now that we've got that out of the way, I do feel like for some of you that's actually maybe like a really important stepping stone here that some of you don't do enough of, where some of you are like leaning into the alchemy, energy alchemy aspects of life, and that would be like a really good exercise for you, is to lean into doing different things like that. Okay, so now that we've got that far into it, I actually feel like this whole experience, given that you continue to put the work in and transmute what you can, that it inevitably is like helping work towards your destiny in some way, like who you're meant to become. Like this whole situation is just forming who you're meant to become and who you show up as in the world, who you're meant to be. It's like helping turn you into the fully formed person that you're meant to be. And I feel like after that tower moment happens and you're left with like nothing but yourself, except for like those hopes and dreams of turning into who you're meant to be. But it's also kind of like that reset, refresh, like a really good opening opportunity for authenticity to leave behind. Like there's no one here clouding who you are anymore, and there's no one here having opinions or expectations on like conforming or what is and isn't okay. There's no need for anxiety anymore. You can just embrace who you are and not worry about it. And that allows for like a new, like a really bright, promising new beginning. And I think that you'll actually be like pleasantly surprised with where you wind up with it, if you can actually like follow through on those things. So like continuing to put the work into yourself and leaning into your practices, and sometimes just realizing that it's better to like stand alone rather than with like you know, false friends or false situations, or I don't know if it's just like relationships, connections, or places, like even if it's a workplace, not necessarily like a relationship of some kind. If it was family, even though it's like terrible, it's still better to be able to be yourself than be in like, I guess, not false connections, but you know, you're just like, if you're not really being yourself, then like how genuine is the connection? Okay, so group one, that's actually everything that I have for you, but what we were meant to be asking for, it's kind of weird the way that that's come through, because that was just like a general message, right? And the question that we actually had for tonight's reading was like, what lays between you and the veil? So I'm just going to take a moment to see if I can get something extra here, or like a different read. Okay, it does make sense now. So I just got there's basically like a heap of people all around you where it is those inauthentic connections, and it's really clouding your judgment, and it's like clouding your alignment and your clarity. Is like it's inhibiting your ability to live clear and aligned in a way where you actually can connect with what's on the other side of the veil. So yeah, it's like by keeping people around or staying in places that we know we don't want to be or shouldn't be, or they don't really honor who we truly are, it actually like hinders our progress. Because if we're not living in alignment, then it's like we're not really a clear channel. Yeah. Okay, so now that actually makes sense why it came out the way that it did with those other cards first, because it's kind of like painted the picture of maybe some of what's gone on. And yeah, that's everything I have. Okay, hopefully that was helpful in some way. Group one, thank you for being here today, and we'll see you in another reading. For some of you, I am getting reference that there might be like another group here for you. I'm not really sure. I think the pile might be a little bit split as to what group will actually be for you. So maybe if there was another pile you were initially drawn to in the introduction, then you can go back and choose another pile. Welcome group 2 to tonight's reading. Tonight's reading is all about what is between you and the veil. And if you chose the Lemurian seed quartz in the interchangeable Macrame necklace, then this is your reading for tonight. Tonight we are doing the reading via candlelight. And if you have any questions, just leave them down in the comments box, comment section, and I can reply to you. And I feel like there's something else that we need to tell you. So sometimes people might have trouble choosing a pile that resonates with them, and it could just be a case like not every reading is for you, and not every pile is for you. Sometimes we might need to develop our intuition a little bit more as part of our journey, and sometimes how we come to choosing a specific group might actually tell us a little bit more about the story in itself as well. If you're feeling uncertain, it might actually be noteworthy or something to take note of. For those of you that actively have trouble choosing a pile, it might just be something that you have to develop over time, and you can do things like try to meditate on the pile, pick which pile you feel the most drawn to, or pick which pile is the most aesthetically pleasing to you, or something like that. It'll take a bit of time, but you'll get there and you'll get better at it. So I did get a message from group 1 that there might have been a second pile for anyone in group that was part of group 1. So if any of you actually were having trouble choosing between like group 1 and group 2, maybe there might be a message in group 1 for you as well that you can go back and check. Okay, pretty sure that's everything that we need for the moment. So Group 2 just starting off, it feels like someone's being like casting some level of judgment. Now I can't tell if this is like a level of like karmic judgment, or I feel like this is showing up in two ways. Like there is a person sort of throwing shade, not throwing shade, just showing up with judgment, and there's some form in spirit showing up with judgment. So I don't know if this is like the way that someone has been treated in with what it's like in regard to we're just going to keep moving and see if we come back to it or if we get anything extra here. For some of you, it will actually be a, I don't know why, I just keep getting it as like almost like the justice card, like someone's being held accountable, but the judgment card itself, it can also kind of be like that only God can judge me. So I wonder if people are like throwing shade or being judgmental about a situation that played out, and they're actually, maybe they don't have like the whole picture or the whole story or something there like that, and spirit does see, like spirit knows everything that happened the way that it happened. And right as I start talking about that, it just got very still and very clear and calm. So that's definitely confirmation if there ever was one. Okay, so as long as you can trust that like spirit knows your heart, regardless of like what's played out, you don't have to prove yourself to anybody. I think that in itself is like permission enough for you to move on with your life, and that you don't need anybody else's validation to be able to do that. I think, I don't know how it is that you get from this place of, I know if some of you are like beating yourself up a little bit, or if it's just what other people are saying. I think it's what other people are saying, or you are like judging yourself in a way, but I think for this group it's mostly what other people are saying. Trust that spirit has a plan for you of like prosperity, or just like good well-being in general. I think you'll be pretty happy with it. Like what, I don't know why they're not giving me too much information on it, okay? So maybe for some of you, you don't really want to like dwell on the past or something, or there's no need to, and we just want to look at like where we are and what we're doing moving forward and what would actually be helpful. And maybe it would actually be helpful for some of you to like get outside and go do something fun and hang out with some happy people, or go do like some outdoor activity where it's like physical exercise or playing a game, or I don't know, like this card has like fireworks in the background. Maybe for some of you, like go out to some sort of like nighttime entertainment activity that's a wholesome, whatever it is that's like wholesome, healthy, happy vibes. And I think that it can almost be used in like the sense of like a muse, or like a sense of inspiration, like it'll spark a sense of inspiration that maybe you haven't felt for a little while. For some of you, I wonder if you like go on a date here. Like you actually go out for some sort of like nighttime date or meet up, or catch up with like an old friend or something like that, and maybe you realize that there is like a spark there, or an old like I don't know, rekindling of an old flame or something like that, and it seems to be like you're a team, or it's like reciprocal. I think it's like you're like a team. I don't know. It doesn't have to be a date. It could just be like hanging out with people that make you happy, like a different group of friends or something like that. I'm not sure. I think there's like a few different situations playing out within the groups tonight. For some of you, I feel like you've got spirit with you constantly. Maybe it's like one of your guides is bearing witness to some judgment that you have experienced. And they're just telling you that it's time to like have fun and find what in life lights you up again or sparks passion within you. I don't know, it's like you need like a sense of direction or something to follow so that you can really like take charge of your own life. I think it'll just be like going after the things that you want. It's like, this is what's fun, and this is what's healthy, and this is what's happy, and this is, you know, where my interests take me, and this is what inspires me, and this is like what I'm passionate about, and this is what makes me feel alive. And I don't know, I think for a lot of you this is like another person that's coming in, and it's like, wow, this feels balanced. Wow, this feels like a team. This feels like we could help each other. This feels like it's more than just one person. This feels like it's two-sided, not one-sided. I'm not sure. And I think that helps empower you to be in a position where maybe you kind of become like the king of your own life. So it's kind of like having a really healthy, supportive, loving, like fulfilling relationship in your life. It's not even that. It's like there's a good give and take. You guys just take care of each other. It might not even be about the fulfillment, supportive stuff. It might just be that, you know, when the chips are down, that this person has your back, or that they help you in what way they can, and that's all there really is to it. There definitely seems like there is like a counterpart here. So we've got the King and the Queen of Strands of Wands. We're going to read from the book on the Queen of Strands. So this is actually the Queen of Wands card in this deck. And the Queen of Wands, it's like being really magnetic and attractive and standing out. And I guess that kind of like matches. I wonder if it's kind of that energy of like when this person sees you, it like you light up their world. And they're really happy to work in with you and to like help out and just do things together. They're happy to like equally invest with you. But I feel like there's a specific message from the book that would be really helpful. Nancy Wheeler asks for forgiveness, not permission, and as the Queen of Strands, she is encouraging you to be just as outspoken and bold. She may represent someone in your life who is inspiring you to be your best self, or she may represent a dormant part of your own personality that is ready to be invigorated. Either way, when she brightens up your reading, it's a sign that things are about to start happening for you. Yeah, if you think about it, she's actually like really determined, and she goes after what she wants, and she doesn't apologize for it, and she has like a clear vision for herself, and she just like, she has that motivation, doesn't she? But also she's like really beautiful and really attractive as well. And then yeah, I think, do you know what is like another good point about like Queen of Wands? Is that like people don't mess with her. Like she has like good boundaries, right? Like she knows how to handle herself in like a social arena kind of thing. Yeah. Anyway, so this definitely seems like I sort of had a similar thing happen in group 1, where it was kind of like we had almost like a general type reading come through first. And I will actually ask that question because tonight's reading is meant to be based on like what is between you and the veil. And for some of you, I feel like you've got like, you know, this spirit or this guide that hangs out with you very close by. And I'm not sure if it's like a thing here of like divine intervention, or it's just them witnessing things that have come to pass. because every time I talk about it, it was like everything got really calm and clear. And this is like the third time it's happened. And it was like confirmation for me that that's what it was. Anyway, and this definitely looks like a significant other, and if it's not a romantic relationship, it's like a really good friendship or something. There's like a significant person here that makes a big difference in your life, and it would not surprise me at all if it is a relationship. And even if they're already in your life, it's kind of like that confirmation of the person that is by your side is really by your side, and they really light up your world, and vice versa. Like it probably couldn't be better. Okay, now for for some of you, like if it's not like a romantic relationship, it's just kind of you taking charge of your own life. It's like you're finally put in a position where you're actually able to help yourself. You actually have enough resources to be able to do something to like help yourself, and you've got like that full crazy motivation and determination, and you know what you want and you're going after it, and you make it happen, and no one's standing in your way. And it all starts with like that one flicker of hope, that one moment in time that changes everything. Okay, so for the question, so what is between you and the veil? I'll just go quiet for a moment and see if I can get something for it. Okay, so the answer that I got was like the hope of a different outcome. So it's kind of like being too attached to the outcome is kind of getting in the way of like your surrender and acceptance and release. It's getting in the way of the surrenders, like surrendering to the universe and trusting and being open and believing and going with it and entering into a flow state, because there's no way you can enter into a flow state when you're really attached to the outcome. So, you know, and it kind of makes sense, because what we're seeing is like a person who's like, yes, this is what I want, and you're going after it. But there's got to be like, there's kind of like an art to knowing this is what I want and I'm going after it, and I'm taking active steps towards it, and I'm not letting things hold me back. I'm like overcoming obstacles actively. But I also know that the world won't end if it doesn't turn out this perfect exact way I have it in my mind. Like I don't need to be attached to the outcome of what that looks like. I can just take the steps towards it and trust that my path will lead me where I'm meant to be, and that it's not actually wasted. The investment, whether it's the way that we've seen and wanted it to turn out, does or doesn't, is not wasted. It's kind of, how can I explain it? It's kind of like if you did a university degree and you decided at the end of the degree, because that's like a lot of time and dedication, and it's kind of, when you talk in terms of like creating like a long-term work or legacy for yourself, it has that effect of like compounding time that you could have spent working or dedicating towards something else. But what I have to say is that we're never going to know whether it was like the right or wrong choice until we actually do it, until we get there and find out that it was or wasn't for us. But in like, yeah, there's no way to calculate that. We just need to take the steps and do it. And then if that's what turns out to be the case when we get there, you know, we still have this degree behind us. So we still have, you know, whatever subjects, whatever newfound wisdom or life experience that we've gained from this, like that you can use as part of like an eclectic knowledge base, or you know, maybe, I don't know, like for the lack of a better example, maybe you decide that you want to do like a psychology degree, and maybe you don't make the full 4 years, but maybe after the first 3, when you decide you don't want to do it, you instead go ahead and work towards diversional therapies or something like that. So I don't know, maybe not the best example. That'll look differently for everyone, okay? But I guess that's trying to trying to explain of like knowing what you want, working towards it, and not worrying about how or what it looks like, especially when you get there, as to, I think it's like being attached to that like very specific outcome, because we have like, it's almost that like we need or want it to turn out an exact certain way, and if it doesn't, then it's like it wasn't all worth it. But the reality is it's about the journey anyway, and we still learn a lot, okay? There's a lot of wisdom to be gained in this group, and that actually speaks volumes in terms of like the Lemurian seed quartz too, because it is a crystal of like wisdom and access to like the Akasha. It's like the esoteric knowledge and wisdom of the universe, in a record keeping crystal. So I think there's a lot of wisdom to be gained here, and this group has a lot of wisdom as well. I don't think you really need me to explain this to you. It's kind of the craziest thing, but you know, sometimes we get a little bit like lost in everything going on, and it can be nice to just have that like little gentle reminder. But yeah. Okay, so that's everything that I have for you tonight, group 2. I hope that this was helpful in some way, and I'll see you all in another video. Welcome group 3 to tonight's reading, which is all about what's between you and the veil. And if you chose the Outback, Jasper, then this was your pile. It might be a little bit hard to see. See if we can get a little bit more light on it, because tonight's reading will be by candlelight. So from what I understand, the Outback Jasper is meant to be like a mix of like brown, pink, sometimes like maybe yellow or orangey kind of Jaspers, but it's one that you find in the outback of Australia, hence the name. Pretty fitting for where we're at. So anyway, that necklace was actually a gift from a friend, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's kind of got like an eclectic style to it that I think is going to work in really beautifully for whatever reason. And I really feel drawn for this group tonight as well to show you the blue onyx if you haven't seen one before. It's just like really grounding and really soothing. It's kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like if you could like be yourself and be like comfortable in being yourself, or have compassion for being yourself, but like kind of be a bit grounded in it. It's just like giving, I don't know, for me, I was just thinking that it can be like a nice one for like anxiety or something. I don't know if that's helpful to anyone in any way, but at least that's information that you have now anyway. Okay, so to start off, so we're just going to start by taking a timing card. And I'm not exactly sure how this will pan out. I generally just go one card by one card until we sort of string together the message in general. I just had one jump out. So when you release resistance. Okay, cool. So that's the timing. And okay, so group 1 also had a mention that there might have been another group, like a message in another group for them as well. So if any of you were thinking about choosing group 1, there may be an extra message in that pile for you if you do feel drawn or decide to go back and listen to it. Group 3, I feel like you must be quite good at choosing your piles. If you ever have trouble, you can always comment on the video and I can let you know what I feel would be a good one for you. I have had the Judgment card come out in all 3 groups tonight, so there's definitely like something going on here in regards to like maybe a collective energy. For this group, I feel like you may be judging yourself more than anything else. Yeah. There may be like a feeling of you being up against like some unbeatable force as well. And it's like maybe you're feeling like really weary and I don't know, like I want to say traumatized, but I don't know. You might just feel like a bit like battered and bruised, or a little bit distrusting, or a little bit unsure. It's like it's something different. It's like maybe you just don't know what to make out of the situation. I feel like for some of you, it's like a level of like conditioning. I don't know if it's like a cultural conditioning or something that you've experienced through like particular relationships, whatever it is that's brought you here. It's we'll see if what we get for it. Let's go. I feel like some of you are finally starting to see results of something like actually pay off. And I think maybe it's just, I don't know, I feel like we're not, I don't know, for whatever reason, I'm not getting a lot on like the previous picture of like what has gotten you to this point. It's like they don't want to talk about it, they just want to talk about where we're at. And I think some of you have maybe been way too hard on yourselves for making decisions that you have in the past, and that it may have led you to places that you didn't want to be, and you're kind of crucifying yourself in some ways, but you've put the work in, or you've consistently shown up, and it's actually started to pay off for you. And if it hasn't yet, it will. And for others of you, I think it's kind of like a harsh reality setting in on what needed to change in life. And I think it might have been hard to break old patterns and habits. And I do get a sense of it still being like a bit of an uphill battle for you. But you're a lot wiser because of it. This is maybe like whatever happened left you in like a bit of a slumber, or like a bit of like a depression or mental angst, or like maybe it was just really stressful. Maybe it was like kind of, I don't know, maybe it was like a period of time where mental health was not so easily, like maybe it was more of a privilege to have like a mental health that was like really functioning well. Maybe for some of you, it's like releasing that resistance to having this harsh judgment on yourself that kind of keeps you stuck and makes you feel worse. And that when you're able to release that is when you're able to actually like get back to focusing on the things that can help you, and you actually do really well. Yeah, I think that's maybe more what it is. So I'm just going to take a moment and see, because like the question for tonight's reading was actually like what is between you and the veil, and it seems to have worked out that there was like a bit of a general reading before the question got answered in both the previous groups, so it looks like that's happened again in this one. They're basically saying that there needs to be like a deeper level of understanding here before you can go forward with like whatever's on the other side of the veil. So the way that I understand it, or what they were saying, is that some sort of like deeper understanding required around like relationships, like I think it was like love, work and life, or something like that. There's some sort of, it's like whatever has happened or shown up, it's like a judgment's been made that didn't allow you to actually like either look at the situation objectively, which is I think probably for most of you what it is. It's kind of like a version of like, yeah, judgment that takes away from whatever happened just being whatever happened. And when we do that to ourselves or to whatever the situation is at hand, we take away the ability to look at it with like a depth of understanding. So it's kind of like you've shortchanged yourself here by throwing judgment on a situation, even if it's just internally, because you can never look at it past the judgment that's been placed on it. So I don't know where this judgment comes from, if it's like a conditioning, like a societal conditioning, some sort of ego defense mechanism, or it doesn't matter where it comes from, and it doesn't matter whatever it is. There's no judgment on where it comes from, because we're all just human and we've probably all done it before anyway, and we are who we are and where we are, and all we can do is like work with what we've got, okay? And you have to have compassion for yourself, and I feel like spirit knows you and sees you, and it doesn't matter what mask you wear to the outside world, they know your heart. And it's like, sometimes I wonder if you wonder like who it is that you're fooling, or there's some sort of like narrative that you may tell yourself, or you may be rerunning subconsciously in your mind around like wearing a mask and showing up authentically, and living with this judgment in mind. You don't need the judgment. The judgment isn't helping you, because it kind of takes away an essence of reality from the situation, because the reality is that it's so much more and so much less than like what we tell ourselves it is. And when it's open to interpretation, leaves a lot more room for hope and a lot more ability for kindness and compassion towards ourselves. And it doesn't have to look a certain way. We can be really attached to particular outcomes, and that can really like cloud our judgment as well. We may think things need to be a certain way, and when you can release that like resistance to having to place or find some type of judgment, then it will release or alleviate all of this that has been being experienced. And I feel like it weighs really heavy, like it's actually pretty hectic, and it wouldn't be nice to experience. And this isn't, this reading is not to like discount or discredit or invalidate anything that anyone has experienced or their circumstances. If anything, it's kind of quite the opposite. It's kind of like, no, this is a real thing, and it is really, I think it would be really hard being caught up in these cycles, trying to break like habitual patterns that we might not even realize or recognize are happening within ourselves. And yeah, so when you're able to find a way to release the resistance or release the form of judgment, I think it will help you live in alignment closer to the way that you want to show up in the world and how you would like to leave the world. I get the sense that this group is a group of people that would like to leave the world in a better way than how they found it. And that can feel like a heavy burden sometimes, or not a heavy burden, but a heavy task, okay? You don't have to be Superman. Sometimes the best thing that we can do for anyone, especially ourselves, is just like be kind to ourselves and not not throw too much like negative self-talk or anything like that. I'm sort of getting another message here, and like, you know, it doesn't have to be for everybody, but take it if it applies, I guess, is that for some of you, there's like an element of needing to get outside and be active or exercise or just take action on something, or like go out and have fun or be busy, and that will help free you out of this mental like rumination. I don't know, I feel like it could be rumination or feeling trapped by like endless thoughts or like negative self-talk cycles, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. Maybe there is like an element of stress or depression or something from anything that's happened. They won't, like I said, they don't want to talk about what's happened in the past to get you to this point. They're just acknowledging that it was like very real, and that it's not helping you any longer, I guess. And again, there's no judgment on how you got here or being here. It's just something that happens to us at different times. But yeah, for some of you, maybe swimming, maybe surfing, I don't know, just some sort of like outdoor sport or activity would be cool or fun or really like helpful. Maybe like kind of invigorating to your soul. Maybe it's a good way to get in your body and out of your head. Okay, is that everything that we have? Okay, group 3, that is everything that I have for you for tonight's reading. I hope that it was helpful in some way. Please let me know in the comments if that resonated, and I hope you all have a good night.